Welcome to the Exposure Ninja Digital Marketing Podcast. My name's Tim. I'm head ninja at Exposure Ninja and best-selling digital marketing author. This show is all about helping you to drive more leads and sales through your website. And in this episode, I'm delighted to be joined by Steven van Vessem from Content King. Now, Content King is an SEO app that helps you kind of live audit your site and audits your site continuously in the background. But we haven't brought Steven on to talk about auditing your website or the Content King app. We've brought Steven on to talk about the content marketing strategy that Content King uses, because they use a combination of blog and what we'd call knowledge-based content to drive a lot of organic traffic to the site for some very competitive keywords, but also, really importantly, to drive leads. So whilst the strategy that Steven's going to talk through is exactly what we tell you every day to do through the Exposure Ninja books and podcasts and videos, I think that sometimes it really helps to have someone from outside this world come and talk to you about the success that they've had using this strategy. And Steven and Content King business, they've taken it to a fantastic level with this. They've got phenomenal calls to action, which are optimized for the particular article topic that the visitor's on. They implement this whole strategy so well. So we wanted to bring Steven on to talk about exactly how they do it and the steps that they go through. So we cover three things. Firstly, we talk about the impact that this stuff has had on the Content King business and how important this strategy is as part of their overall mix. Then we talk about the specifics of how this thing actually works. And then at the end, we go through an actionable step-by-step plan that you can follow to implement this for your business. So I hope that you find this really useful, and I hope you enjoy the conversation with Steven van Vessem from Content King. So Steven, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tim. Glad to be here.
So for those who don't know you and Content King, maybe you could give us a bit about your story and what Content King is and who it's for.
Yeah, definitely. So my name is Steven van Vessem. I'm the VP of Community and co-founder of Content King. My daily work revolves around content marketing and SEO. Doing a lot of writing, making sure the writing is seen by people. I'm engaging with the SEO community on whatever platform the kids use these days. So I'm in a bunch of Slack groups, obviously on Twitter, LinkedIn, Reddit, Growth Hackers, you name it, I'm there. So that's me. Looking forward to going to Brighton over the summer. So that's one of the perks of the job, to go to in-person events when pandemics allow it. So I love to meet up with people in person as well. Socially distance,
Of course.
safe, stuff like that. As for Content King, Content King is a real-time auditing and monitoring platform. So our philosophy is that you shouldn't turn on a crawl. Auditing, SEO auditing should be a continuous process. So at any given time, you need to be able to quickly look up what kind of issues do I have? What kind of changes happened? And in case of trouble, you should be alerted. And that's what we do at Content King. So we monitor sites, look for SEO issues and changes, and we alert you in case of trouble. Kind of just takes out 50% of all the recurring SEO work that SEOs, especially agencies, do.
Good stuff. And I'd suggest that everyone goes to the Content King website, whether you're a potential customer or not, because one of the things we're going to talk today about is how you've used content to grow Content King. I guess you'd have to with a name like that. But yeah. I think what you've done and the levels that you've gone to with content across the blog and what we'd call the knowledge base it is really fantastic. So maybe you could give us a quick overview of exactly how you use particularly the content on the website to actually grow the Content King business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So when we got started in 2015, one of the core lead gen drivers was we call it the Content King Academy. It's basically where we give away all of our free knowledge. So if you go to contentkingapp.com/academy, you'll land on the overview page. There's a neat categorization. All of the content, all of the evergreen content lives there. All of the content that expires at some point lives on the blog. Like by definition, a blog is something that includes content that will lose its value over time. And because we update a lot of our content, more on that later, we keep that in the Academy. So as a platform for SEOs, digital marketing managers, and so on, it made a lot of sense to focus on SEO and content marketing as a channel. It's something we knew we were good at. So we started doing that. So pretty much as soon as we launched, we started putting content together that we thought our audience would be interested in, content that would help them solve the problems they were having.
So we'll get into kind of audience targeting and how you identify what to write about later on. But what are the main traffic sources for these articles that are going in the Academy and the blog?
Main traffic source is definitely Google organic, followed by social traffic, of which I think Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook would be the biggest drivers. But organic traffic, our bread and butter, is definitely up there as the most important traffic source to the Academy.
And maybe just so we can get a sense of how important this has been to Content King's growth, like what else do you do to grow the business? What other digital marketing channels are you using, and how much of a priority would you say the website content is?
Well, I would definitely say it has the has had the highest priority. But you shouldn't be putting all your eggs in one basket. So we've started diversifying the traffic to the site, doing more and more with paid media and sponsored newsletters, things like that. But it's been content marketing and like organic traffic has been the primary traffic driver to the Academy content. And I mean, if you're an SEO tool and your SEO sucks, like people will start to wonder, is like, are these folks for real?
Yes, that's very true. But I mean, it's important to also say that the kind of process that we're going to discuss today, it's not just for SEO tools. It's not just for SaaS businesses.
Nope.
What sort of businesses? Obviously, being a tool, but being someone who markets a tool, in this space, you get to see a lot of businesses using SEO. And what's your sense on what type of businesses can benefit from what we're going to be talking about today?
Any type of business that wants to get more value out of the organic traffic source, basically. So obviously for us as an SEO tool provider, SEO is important, but like if you're whether you're an e-com site or whether you're in-house in a B2C company or B2B SaaS, it doesn't matter. If you want to make more revenue through organic search, this podcast is going to be interesting for you. So keep on listening, folks.
Perfect. Hope you're enjoying this video. If you are, consider hitting the like button and subscribing if you're not already. Also, leave us a comment. We love reading the comments and we enjoy a bit of banter as well, so feel free to make it cheeky. By the way, if you haven't already requested your free website and marketing review from the team here at Exposure Ninja, then you really need to do that. What happens is you go to exposureninja.com and you click the button. We'll ask you a few questions about your business and your marketing goals, and then one of our team will conduct a 15-minute review where they have a look at your website, your digital marketing, your competitors, and put all of this information into a video that they send to you via email, absolutely free of charge with no obligation to use our digital marketing services. How cool is that? So you go to exposureninja.com and click the button to request your free review today. So there are going to be listeners or viewers on YouTube who are like, yeah, I've written posts for my website and they don't really do anything.
Mhm.
And maybe I got it wrong, but I've tried a few and it's definitely not a driver of leads for me.
Mhm.
Obviously, for this strategy to work, there has to be two components. You have to be able to get traffic to your content, and you also have to be able to convert that traffic into leads.
Mhm.
Maybe if we just start with the traffic stuff first of all, how do you find topics that are likely to generate not just traffic, but the right sort of traffic, people that are going to be a potential customer of the business?
Mhm. Yeah. So there's two primary drivers in that part of the decision making. One is what are topics our audiences struggle with, and two is like where does our product offer a solution, and where those overlap, where Content King could be a solution to an issue they have, where it overlaps. Yeah, that's where the sweet spot is for us, and for a lot of businesses, that would be the case.
And that's kind of interesting. You mentioned that overlap. Certainly, some of the biggest exponents of this strategy, I'm thinking companies like HubSpot, um,
Mhm.
maybe haven't often focused on the where does our product have the solution part of the overlap. So they're just literally thinking, what problems do our customers have broadly within 100 miles of our
Mhm.
solution, and they've gone
Yeah.
really, really wide. And that can often feel
Mhm.
intimidating to businesses trying to adopt this strategy because they're like, well, we can never compete. We'd have to write
Exactly.
100,000 articles to do that. Whereas you're saying, actually, you
Mhm.
don't need to go that big. You just think about that overlap. That feels like a really important point.
Yep. Yep. It is. And if you were to ask me, Steve, where should we begin? I would say start there. And like I, I don't know exactly where HubSpot started when it comes to topic selection, but I would wager they started in the same spot. But since they've been doing such a great job and they've come so far, they had to go broad in
Mm.
order to keep organic growth up. And you see this happening to loads and loads of businesses. Like once they hit a couple 100,000 or maybe even 1 million organic visitors a month, to keep growth up, they need to go wider. And that reels in traffic, but it doesn't necessarily mean the traffic will convert the
Mm.
same way as the traffic you already um, conquered before, basically.
Yeah. Which it's not uncommon to see these larger sites having a significantly lower conversion rate from informational content on the site than even a smaller site with fewer posts, but they're much better targeted, and that can
Hmm.
sometimes be concerning for people that as the site's grown the conversion rate has gone down, whereas actually it's often
Hmm.
a symptom of kind of you just cast a wider net, so you're getting more
Yeah,
rubbish as well.
exactly. Yeah, and you could argue that like those people that come in on an article that's only remotely related to the service a company's offering, like you could argue that that's just top of the funnel. It's just making sure you have your first touch point with a visitor.
Mm.
Maybe they sign up for a newsletter, follow you on Twitter or whatever. And it can take a while for them to try out the software. It's all good. It's like once you get to that stage, it's just you look at the funnel and you just try to get as much
Mm.
visitors in that funnel as you possibly can get.
It's all priorities at the end of the day, isn't it? So what?
Definitely. Yeah. And one thing to add, Tim,
Mm.
don't try to copy one of those established brand strategy when you're just getting started, because
Mm.
you've got a small team. You don't have all the capital the larger companies have. You don't have the experience. You don't have the authority. So start small and just start conquering your niche. So where you have the overlap between the problems you solve and the problems your audience is dealing with, and just keep on expanding beyond that. Run experiments, see what sticks and what doesn't.
Great advice. Great advice. So, all right, we've got this idea of the problems that we solve and the problems that our audience has, and finding the kind of overlap between those. How do you begin to validate that there is enough potential traffic and customers there, and then how do you approach keyword research? I know it's obviously it's its own topic, but um,
Mhm.
what are the kind of big picture things that you're looking at during your keyword research phase?
Yeah. So that kind of depends on whether you have some real world data in Google Search Console, for instance, or not. If you have the data, you already know what people are searching for. So,
Mm,
say you wrote an article about topic A and you came up with topic B, which is somewhat related. You already have an idea of the kind of searches people use and the kind of the amount of impressions. So that's very useful information, which you should definitely leverage when doing keyword research. If you don't have that information and you can't like fully commit to writing a big piece, I would suggest to create a smaller piece to get some of that real world data, to
mm,
pull that in, to see it show up in Google Search Console, and to use that for further planning. You can always extend an existing article. So instead of like committing to like I'm going to write this massive 10,000 word article, going to work on it for 2 weeks. You could just start with an article, you write it in a few hours, you publish it, you start keeping an eye on the data that's coming in,
mm.
and you use that data to define next steps.
Yeah.
I
That,
think that's something, and it makes total sense. It's like super easy. Like everyone can think of it, but like most people don't approach it this way.
mm.
So I call it like the shot before the bow, or shot over the bow tactic. It works really well.
And that's really interesting. I think a lot of the hesitance that people might have over that is, well, unless I go all in on this piece, it's not going to
Mhm.
get me the traction that I'm really going to need. So, is it going to give me a kind of accurate picture? But I guess what you'll find is that even if you might not get, all of the visibility that you really want, if you do a bunch of these, you're going to be able to spot the winners, presumably.
Yeah, for sure. If you do a couple of these and you look at conversion rates,
Mm.
you'll find evidence that supports your theories around which articles touch best on overlap best with the problems your audience have,
Mm.
and yeah, how your solution can solve it.
Great stuff. So, you mentioned they're writing shorter pieces and then writing longer pieces. I noticed some of the posts on Content King, they're so long and so in depth, which is awesome. But you obviously in the SEO space, you're competing for some of the world's most competitive keywords. So
Yeah.
you got to come with some heavy firepower to win that. But when someone asks you the typical question, how long does a piece have to be in
hmm
order to rank or in order to perform? How do you start thinking about that, and how do you analyze how long your stuff needs to be to compete for the phrases that you're targeting?
hmm Yeah, great question. I think a lot of content marketers and SEO struggle with this. Like they've been distracted with some of the studies, let's call them studies, um,
Observation.
that say, yeah, they're like you have the whole correlation isn't causation
Yeah.
discussions. Like these are studies that will show you, okay, the average word length of an article ranking on page one for a competitive term is 5,100 words or something. Like it's total crap. If you try to apply that to like a brand new strategy, like it doesn't apply to every content type. Yes, it may apply to like an ultimate guide, sure. But if you're answering a simple question,
Mm,
the article needs to be short as possible. It just needs to answer that question in the most complete and efficient way. So ask yourself, like, what would a visitor be looking for? What can you do to answer their query as best as possible, and do that? So if someone searches for robots text guide, they're not looking for a very specific question about robots text, right? They're looking for a guide. So it's
Mm.
totally fine to have like a massive piece. But if they're looking for something like robots text crawl delay, they're looking for something specific to robots text. And that's where you'll find that such a massive guide is not going to rank for that. But a very detailed article on that will. So look at what you think would work best for your visitors, and take a peek at the SERP as well. So the search engine result page. Type the query into Google. Look at the top 10 results, and see what kind of articles are they. Are they long? Are they short? And it's something you shouldn't be taken as a source of truth. It's more like inspiration, because what Google's ranking today can change tomorrow. And oftentimes Google has these searches where they serve like a split intent result page. So they're unsure about the intent of the user. So they choose different types of content to serve that. And then over time, they may start preferring certain types of content over other types.
Clearly, there is a balance here. I mean, if you search for something like, I don't know, I'm thinking of something competitive like Worldwide Developer Conference date or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is all around, that the Apple Worldwide Developer Conference. Loads of content produced on this, often by large publications, ad supported. And what they'll offer, you might say that all the audience really wants is a date. And Google
Mm-hmm.
might just serve up the date, but often the article will start with, what is Worldwide Developer Conference? Where is it hosted? What have been some of the most significant Worldwide Developer Conference? And then you'll get something like, when is this year's Worldwide Developer Conference hosted, or something like that. So I guess there has to be, same with weather, right? What's the weather today? Where you might just want to see the word sunny, but you might want something, or you might find that something that ranks is actually a little bit more in depth, but not like you say, the ultimate guide to what the definition of weather is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think you're touching on an interesting point. If you look at the recipe market, like if you look up pancake recipes, you'll find like massive articles about, like, when I was in second grade, I once went to my grandma and she made delicious blueberry pancakes, blah, blah, blah. Like, no one gives a shit. Like, they want to know how to make those pancakes, what they need, and how to do it.
Yeah.
So I hope like we will move to a situation where that type of content isn't rewarded unless people are looking for that, obviously. But it's like just quick answers, like, okay, you want to see that recipe? Here's the recipe. Here are the ingredients. Here's how to make it. Maybe include a video of how it's done. But that should be the focus, in my opinion.
I've often wondered if that's a symptom of people targeting scroll depth, or page engagement, and burying stuff beneath the fold in order to get people scrolling and staying on the page longer, in the hope that this improves their ranking. I don't know. That's completely just my
Maybe.
feeling on why we're seeing this stuff, because it, like you say, it doesn't really serve the user, but it seems to be pretty
Exactly.
commonplace.
It does. And there's a chance it may have been rewarding those sites with good rankings back in the day. And because they've accumulated all of that authority, links, and they may still have like good engagement metrics, a big fan base. And that's why that type of content, which may be outdated by now, is still ranking there. Because of all the other signals that kind of came along with it. So
Okay.
I think that's important to keep in mind. Like what's working for some sites now will not always work for you as you enter a market.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good point. It can be very frustrating for new websites that are trying to compete with established sites that are doing everything that SEOs tell them not to do, and they say, well, these sites are still ranking, and they've just got 10,000 location pages buried in their footer with
Mhm.
identical content. So we clearly
Yeah.
need to do that if we're going to rank, and it can be very frustrating
Oh yeah.
to realize that yesterday's overhang isn't necessarily a target.
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the writing process. Then, so you've identified the topic and you've thought through the keywords that you're going to be targeting. How do you go from that? You even know and you know the length, even if you're starting with a smaller one, and then you're going to write more
Hmm.
detail.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for writing? Any considerations that you give to like sub headlines and things like that?
Mm. So before we jump into that, there's other factors that we take into account as well. It's like, to what degree is this article going to be offloading support questions? So obviously, we have thousands of customers and even more users, and they have questions, which is completely normal. So when the content marketing team produces content that relieves the support team and drives organic traffic in the process, that's a win-win.
Mm,
So we take that into account as well, and whether it's timely, it's like a topic that people are looking for right now. That's likely to get links. So there's a bunch of criteria that we take into account before we commit to writing a piece. If they don't fit the criteria, we're either going to park them or like throw them out completely. We've learned over the years that these work really well for us. So yeah, that's yeah why we stick with them. To answer your question about headings, if you look at our academy, we cover a lot of technical terminology. So for instance, if you take crawl budget, it's like what is crawl budget? Why is it important? How does it work? What are the best practices around crawl budget, et cetera, et cetera. And we kind of came up with a blueprint that works for a lot of similar concepts, basically. And we didn't come up with a perfect blueprint. That kind of evolved over time, and we have something that works. Yeah, we apply that wherever it makes sense.
mm,
But we also come across topics that are different. Like, for instance, if we have a very successful piece about how to get your sites indexed by Google, and it's a 11-step process that you go through. Very different structure, but it works for this type of content.
mm.
So I would say create a structure that makes a lot of sense for your audience. Like if it's an obvious things like I don't know if someone's searching for car tires, like you don't need to explain what a car tire is, but you do need to explain like the different types and like these are good for summer. These are all seasons. These are winter tires, etc., etc.
Mm, great advice. Great advice. So let's talk about how you actually generate leads from this.
Mm-hmm.
You've got your content written. I think I love the call to action on the Content King site. You've got the post on desktop. You've got the post down the left hand side, and then you've got a sticky CTA on the right, which is basically, from what I can tell, it's basically always get a free trial, but you'll tie the headline to the
Mm-hmm.
topic of the article to make it
Yes.
super relevant. So if I go on the meta descriptions, how to write a meta description one, then the title for the call to action will be something like check if your meta descriptions are working properly or something,
Mm-hmm.
take a free trial of content,
Yep.
which I think is superb. Firstly, how important do you feel like that kind of tailoring has been to the conversion rate that you're getting from these posts?
Definitely important. Um, and like we didn't A/B test this or anything. It just makes a lot of sense to do,
Yeah.
and it just takes you 30 seconds when you're writing an article to craft a contextual CTA call to
Mm,
action. So that just makes a lot of sense. And then when reading through an article and looking for the sections in the article where we touch on important points, like things you need to look out for, or in case of meta descriptions, like obviously you have like a maximum length. They need to be unique, stuff like that. Those are great sections to create tie-in with call to actions, like, oh hey, do a quick check, and yeah, see if your meta descriptions are set up correctly.
Yeah, superb. What do your best converting posts and articles have in common?
They're very to the point. It's
Right.
like, you have an issue, I have a solution.
Yeah.
Like, follow these steps to fix the issue. No beating around the bush. It's like, you immediately give what people are looking for. Um, those articles, it's very clear what they're looking for. So it's not that hard to come up with the solution. Other times, though, like the problems the audience is dealing with is less clear. So I think that hurts conversion rates. But yeah, as we find out more about the issues that the audience is dealing with, we refine that. But I think the key to success for the best performing articles is to just make them super clear and easy to scan, and basically give away too much
Right.
and too fast. It's, yeah, once that feeling starts to creep up on you, you're getting somewhere. You're generating value, real value.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. I think it's one that a lot of people struggle with, don't they? They think, well, we just want to give a little bit away in the post, just so that the
Yeah.
audience knows we know our stuff, and then they'll come to us. And you're
Hmm.
saying, and we found exactly the same with our books. Just give away as much as you possibly can.
Yep.
The competition is really high, so you have to give as much as you possibly can because
Yeah.
everyone's giving lots of stuff away anyway.
Hmm.
And you don't feel
Yeah.
like that suppresses response. Actually, that would enhance response, in your opinion.
Yeah, definitely. We this has come up a lot. People have asked us, like, shouldn't you be selling this as a course because there's so much value in this? And like, we'd never do that, because our goal is to help SEOs and digital marketers do a better job at SEO, spend less time on stuff that you can automate, et cetera, et cetera. So we will do whatever it takes to get in touch with those people. And if giving away all of the content for free is the way to do it, and that seems to be working for us, then yeah, by all means, go for it.
So, I mean, this ties into another question I had for you, which is, have you tested putting things behind, an email capture or a softer call to action, which isn't around get a free trial? It's more like sign up for the newsletter to discover how to do your own SEO or something like that. Are those things that you've tested?
Yeah, so after people spend some time on the site, they will be asked, like, hey, do you want to receive SEO content in your inbox? Works pretty well. We've done the same thing with a couple of cheat sheets. So, for instance, when it comes to crawling and indexing, we created a cheat sheet with all of the different methods you can signal your preferences to search engines. And we listed all the pros and cons. It's like, you can easily print this, put it on your wall, because you're going to be thinking about this every day anyway.
Hmm.
And maybe you know everything off the top of your head, but a lot of people don't. So it's just easy. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. But you've clearly made the decision to stick with the free trial as your primary CTA, which
Yes.
makes a lot of
Yep.
sense because that's the thing that most directly leads to revenue for you.
Yep.
Has there ever been? Have you ever tested that against something else and made a decision, or is that's always been the way?
That's always been the way so far. Yeah.
Cool. Have you tested anything that didn't work, CTA wise?
Let me think. That's a good question. Nothing I can recall.
Hmm.
No. Like, obviously, over the course of the years, we've done plenty of stuff that didn't work. Like if you're not trying things, you're not going anywhere. You're always going to be doing the same stuff, which inevitably leads to, dying.
Generally not an optimal outcome.
Exactly. So you need to adapt. You need to try new things, like in digital marketing. So that there's so much stuff happening. So you need to be on the lookout. And your competition is doing the same thing. So there's always so much to do.
It's a very good point. So, all right. The other challenge that people will often notice is the traffic that comes to their site, if it has commercial intent, it's coming to the core pages, whether that's products or service. And if it has informational research intent, then it's coming to the blog. And often the conversion rates of those two, not necessarily the page conversion rates, but the sales conversion rates on the leads that come through to those are very different. Have you noticed any patterns there? And have you had to change anything about the free trial process in order to get those informational people turning into actual signups for Content King?
No, the current approach has worked pretty well for us, I would say. But I think a better example would be to look at an e-com store. So say you're selling sneakers. And someone searches for Nike sneakers, like it's pretty obvious. Like you want them to land on the category page. But what if they search for, I don't know, the coolest sneakers for the summer of 2021? And you have a blog article about that, and it ends up ranking well. You're going to see very different conversion rates because the blog article is going to be funneling visitors to your product detail pages. And sometimes these blog articles end up competing with product detail pages or product category pages. And that's where it gets interesting. So you have different intents, different pages. Some pages may have some links from other sites. Especially blog content is more likely to attract links than product category pages because they're very commercial in nature. Those are, I think, more interesting examples to look at. So internal link structure plays a big role in that, and making sure that the blog article kind of supports the sales, the more commercial pages.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that ties into your point right at the beginning, which is the content that you're writing is that it's the meeting of audience problem and our solution. So you're not really targeting any non-relevant or kind of semi-relevant traffic here. You're really going for, this person is in pain that we solve. So in a sense, it's all, they might not come in with commercial intent, but they're pretty much going to be a direct hit for what you do. So you're going to have less of a kind of disparity there.
Yeah, true. Also because like it's free to create a 14-day trial with us. So if someone's impressed with the content and think, hey, this may be useful for me, like it's very easy to just set up a trial. So it only takes you 20 seconds and that's it. Whereas purchasing a set of sneakers, like obviously directly costs money.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that we have a very low threshold for people to create a trial really helps in conversion rates.
Hope you're enjoying this video. If you are, consider hitting the like button and subscribing if you're not already. Also, leave us a comment. We love reading the comments and we enjoy a bit of banter as well, so feel free to make it cheeky. By the way, if you haven't already requested your free website and marketing review from the team here at Exposure Ninja, then you really need to do that. What happens is you go to exposureninja.com and you click the button. We'll ask you a few questions about your business and your marketing goals, and then one of our team will conduct a 15-minute review where they have a look at your website, your digital marketing, your competitors, and put all of this information into a video that they send to you via email, absolutely free of charge with no obligation to use our digital marketing services. How cool is that? So you go to exposureninja.com and click the button to request your free review today. Let's make an action plan for listeners and viewers.
Oh yeah.
So someone's listening, they want to mimic your success, obviously not in the SEO audit tool space. That would be pointless even trying. But let's say that they have their own business and they want to mimic the Content King lead gen success from content.
Mhm.
Or you were going back to day one and starting again. What's the first thing that they need to do?
I would start with identifying audience pain points. And like some people work with personas, which can work fine. But if you already have some customers, or when you're like trying to see like you're in an alpha or beta phase, um, the information you get from the conversations you have with prospects is super useful because
Mhm.
you learn the real world issues they have and that they're looking to solve. So that information is vital. If you already have a sales team, like talking to them to learn from them what kind of struggles people go through is super useful. That's great input for your overview of all the pain points that you can address. Then you want to overlap that with the like the problems you can solve. Um, so that's another one. And you ideally want to target queries that people are actually searching for. So yeah, you may think, okay, so if someone searches for SEO tools 50,000 times a month and I rank two, I'm gonna make bank. Yes and no, because it really depends. A lot of people will be searching for free tools,
Mm.
so you're gonna invest massive amounts of money to rank there, and it's gonna end up being a disappointment because like they're looking for tools, they're not just looking for one, so they're looking for an overview, etc., etc. So there's this disconnect. So I would be on the lookout for queries that are relevant to you, that are within reach and that match the search intent of the user.
Great stuff. So we've got our queries, we've got our topics, we know what we're writing about.
Yep.
Keyword research, are there any indications to you that this is an absolute no-go, or that maybe you want to try a different approach? Like what's piquing your interest when you're doing some keyword research?
So what I usually start with is just start typing queries into Google, see what they suggest. So they will try to guess the kind of search you're about to make.
Mm.
That's interesting information. You also have the also ask box. So those are related searches that people ask as well. And then at the bottom of the page, you have related searches. So that kind of gives you an idea of like the the topic you're looking into and all of the adjacent questions people have. And then I will leverage any and all data I have. So going through Search Console and looking at query information, like impressions, to see what has volume and what
Mm.
hasn't. So obviously, this is hard if you're not ranking well. You're going to see lower impressions because you're not on page one, so you're not getting all of the visibility there. Something to keep in mind. And then I go through the typical keyword research tools, look at what they say. But it's important to keep in mind that all of these tools are always wrong because they're estimates. Like
Yeah.
they apply their own models on a data set that they may pull from AdWords Keyword Planner or some clickstream data. They all have their own angle, and they're always wrong. So it's not a matter of whether they're right or wrong. It's like which one is less wrong than the other. And as soon as you get more and more data from Search Console, you can compare that with what the keyword research tools say. And what I do is I per topic I define like a multiplier. So the keyword research tool is off by a factor X, and I have the real world data here, and I will try to apply that to related topics because that would make sense to me, and that's been working quite well.
Okay, it's a very good point. We did another video where we had the, I mean, all of the tools that estimate traffic, they're basically estimating your position, the percentage of traffic that you're taking multiplied by their keyword search volume, aren't
Yeah.
they? we did an analysis of one of our clients where we said, oh, how much do each of these tools think this site is getting in traffic? And in some cases, they're off by a factor of 10, 100.
Oh yeah.
Like, that not only are they wrong, some of them, particularly when search volumes are low, they are completely wrong to the point that it's worthless data. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that can be quite
Exactly.
off-putting and quite disconcerting for people if they think, well, I'm not going to target that because it says there's 10 searches a month. Well, there's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. So especially if you're taking the approach, like I'm going to write a short piece, limited piece, a limited investment, and I'm just going to publish it and see what happens. That's great. Like just do it and see what happens. So it's I've targeted queries like in the like 200, maybe 300 searches a month ranges, and they ended up being like 10 times that in reality, compared to what the keyword research tools were telling me. So, and especially if you're looking at trends, like emerging trends, keyword research tools are lagging behind. So using, for instance, Google Trends is a good one there. But also just keeping track of all the platforms where people speak publicly about these topics. If you see it come up in conversations, like that could be an indicator that something's up and that there's actually a lot more search volume on it.
Great advice. Okay, so we've got our topic, we've got our keywords. We'll write a short piece first, test it, see what it does. What are you looking for to say, right, we need to write a bit more, we need to add to this, we need to improve it?
Yeah, so a great way to look at that is to look at the queries that are ranking like bottom of page 1 or top of page 2. Like, the article is relevant to those queries, but they're not up there. So what I always do is I will expand the article, update it with additional sections without losing track of the goal that I have in mind for the visitor. So obviously, I still want to answer that question, but if it ends up that the user is interested in related information, and I add that to the article and I improve rankings and overall experience for the user, then that's a win-win. So we'll add those sections, see how they perform. And sometimes, like, I've ended up like writing a massive piece, and then I saw that whatever I did, I wouldn't be able to go to get to page 1 for some queries. And then I wrote a short piece, like literally just copy pasted it from the main article, put it on the site as a separate article, and it just ranks top 5 right off the bat with an internal link from the main article. So that's an example where okay, so this is the type of content that people appreciate, and therefore Google appreciates. So that would be just to try different things to see if you can move up your ranking, or if it doesn't work, try a different approach and make it into a dedicated piece.
Great advice. Stephen, this has been awesome and really insightful. And again, I would encourage people to go and check out the Content King website, which is contentkingapp.com, right? And go and check out the Academy and have a look at how these pieces are structured, because it is a real masterclass. The conversion rate optimization has been very well thought through, and obviously these are ranking for some very competitive terms.
Thanks,
Where
Tim.
can people find out more about you? And do you have any, obviously you got the Content King free trial, right, which people should go and check out?
Yep, definitely. So I'm not a hard man to find online. So if you search for Stephen Van Vassem, or like you'll probably have some show notes like below the video.
So. There'll be some show notes somewhere,
yeah. So you'll be easy to look me up. You can find us at contentkingapp.com. And we also have a special offer for the podcast listeners. So if you go to contentkingapp.com/exposure ninja, you'll get an exclusive free trial, extended free trial for all of the podcast listeners. So if you want to know like what's the fuss all about, let's take a peek at Content King. Make sure to use that link to get the extended trial.
Awesome. And I would, Stephen and his team are smart, so go and sign up for it, see what the sign up process is like, see what the onboarding is like, have a play with it. Like, this is the sort of business that you want to follow and study every element of it. Yep. Stephen, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Great. Thanks very much for having me, Tim.
How cool was that? Don't forget to hit like, smash the subscribe button until your mouse pointing device touchpad is completely obliterated. You've done that as well? Well, then you win the Exposure Ninja free website and marketing review. If you're stuck with digital marketing, you don't know where to go, you don't know how to generate more leads, then we can help you, and it's free. All you need to do is go to exposureninja.com and click the big button to request your free website and marketing review. You'll get a short questionnaire from us asking you a bit of information about your business and your goals. We'll then go and do some research. We'll analyze how's your website doing, what can you improve, what can you be doing to get more traffic to your site, and what are your competitors doing that's working well, which you can copy, or that they're doing badly, which you can exploit. From there, we'll wrap all of this into a lovely 15-minute video, which we'll deliver to you by email, and it's completely free of charge. It's killer. Go and check out the reviews of it. It's amazing. So go to exposureninja.com to request your free website and digital marketing review today. See you next time. You did subscribe, right? Just checking. What about like? Drop us a comment. The more banter, the better. Getting some grays. Oh dear.